What's up, everybody? Sam Smyers here. Today, I want to show you how to make the main bass synth to Where's Your Head At by Basement Jaxx. All right, so that is the sound I'm going to show you how to make, and I'll just turn the vocals on and off there just so YouTube doesn't flag this. Basement Jaxx sampled a song called Me by Gary Newman, and they just used it. Actually, if you listen to this Me song by Gary Newman, it's almost exact to the Basement Jaxx version, except the Basement Jaxx version has more distortion and they sped it up, but the drums are the same and that synth sound is the same. So I was trying to figure out base my sound when I was creating the sound on the original version and then altering it to fit the new sampled version that Basement Jaxx did. Now, when you listen to this original version, you can hear it's a bit cleaner. You can hear some kind of phaser flanger going on right there. So I knew that I needed to add on like a flanger or phaser, but in the Basement Jaxx version, you can't really hear that because of they chopped up the original sound. So you don't really hear that flanger going through its cycles completely. In the Basement Jaxx version, you hear just some distorted tones that are coming from that flanger or phaser or whatever he used. I ended up using a flanger, so that's why I'm saying I'm not really sure which one to use because they both do like a similar effects. And I think Basement Jaxx, they picked maybe some more distorted portions of this progression. Like there you can hear it gets like wobbly sounding, and they probably just picked some parts from the progression and then chopped it up and then resampled it. So I was basing my sound off of that. So let me just break down the first layer now. I just had a layer that was mainly like a sub layer, like a bass. Sub layer just to get that low end, and I have the compressor on there for the sidechain compression. Now this is just the PWM mini, which is like the square wave, and you can adjust the PWM here, but I have it basically all the way to the end to make it a square wave. And then the default shape at a saw, and I adjusted this fine tuning a bit. And just turned on this MG Low 24 filter. This one's -2 octave. This one's -1 octave. That's an octave higher just to get some more harmonics out of that. And I just added a bit of EQ on, just raising up the level of the low end there. So that's really it for that low end part. And this is the more distorted layer. You can hear how it sounds almost like someone's playing guitar, running it through a really distorted guitar amp, maybe some overdrive pedals. Now, when I was trying to figure this out, I was trying to think of like what he was maybe using, probably using a synth that had access to like square waves and pulse waves. So when I was coming up with this sound, let me take off all the effects. I went really crazy with all these effects. Let me take all these off here. I just have a square wave, and my voicing's on mono. My envelope one, I didn't really touch. I have a square wave, and I have this PWM at 75%. Usually on synths, there's like a slider where you can adjust the PWM. I didn't adjust this randomness because I was like, it's an analog synth. They probably didn't have the ability to adjust the randomness. So then I did the octave -2 just so I can play it in that lower octave on my keyboard. And then I added on a pulse wave. This one is, so I'll put this at 0. This one is 5 and this one is 6. It's a bit of a difference. It's not exactly a square wave, it's a pulse wave. And then I raised up this PWM to 80% and I adjusted this fine tuning. So that's how I got the starting sound. And then I figured maybe that's what he started with. And then he probably added on a bunch of effects to get into that sound. And then Basement Jaxx added on more effects after they resampled it. And this is where the new Serum is cool because you can just really get your tone where you want it by adding on all kinds of like distortion, but it's also a bad thing because it's also limitless and then you can get carried away. I think I got a little too carried away. When I was creating this, honestly, maybe I would recommend being careful doing something like this, but I was just like having fun with it. And I wanted to experiment with using the convolve, this new thing, which is like a reverb type impulse response effect. So let me just I want to turn these on one by one so you can hear them. I added on a tube, which is this one mixed at 50%. Probably really didn't do much. I probably could have taken this one off, this tube. When you start hearing an effect is when I add on this electric guitar cab convolve presets, which is in the cab here. You got this you have this electric guitar cab 1, 2 in the Mesa Dual Rec, which Mesa Boogie, I think, is a type of guitar amp. And then you can adjust the size and tone, which is kind of what I did. And then I adjusted this mix. Then I figured he probably distorted it, so let's add on some tube distortion. Get that cool tube sound. Then I heard that flanger, and so I used the Serum flanger in this phaser. It's usually at about like 180, I think. Puts it at stereo, but this sound is very mono, so I didn't want a mono sound. If you put it at 0, then you get a mono phase. And then I just played around with the rates here, just trying to guess what maybe the rate was. And then from there, I like this like tiny laptop tiny preset, which is in the short laptop tiny. Gives you this like vintage sound. And I played around with the size and tone on here with the mix at 100%. And then I'm just trying to get to the sound. So let's say maybe this is somewhere close to the original sound, but that flanger is over exaggerated because I need to get it to like jump out a little bit in the resampled version. So let's say I was kind of getting there, and then I need to add on some more distortion, assuming that the Basement Jaxx version added on more distortion. So I added on a sine shaper. Because I need more of that like white noise frequencies, the really high pitch frequencies. So I played around with that sine shaper, then just some EQ. This laptop speaker tiny preset again. So you can hear the difference there. It almost makes the guitar distortion sound like it's back in a room again. Or maybe like I'm using a different type of guitar cab. And then I just threw on this downsample distortion at about 23%, just assuming like it's a resampled sound. Maybe there's a bit of downsampling going on when they resampled it. So that's not really adding too much, but it adds a little bit of this like crunchiness in the high end. And them together, that is what I came up with for this main bass synth for Where's Your Head At. If you enjoyed it, please let me know in the comments. If you like this video, please go ahead and give it a like, and also please subscribe to my channel if you are not yet subscribed. And if you'd like to check out any of my senior preset packs, head on over to store.smyers.com.